always wanted love, but I didn't know how to hold it. And I had this thing where I would tell my friends, like, I don't like men with accents. And they would be like, that is the strangest thing. Every woman likes a man with an accent. And look, I got the man with the biggest accent, you know? And so I definitely would have not been ready for you. You see what I mean?
Yeah, that's the relationship I want to be for the rest of my life. Of course, we have some arguments sometimes, we have some disagreement, but at the end of the day, the way you made me feel, but the fact that you took me the way I was, I never questioned the relationship because I found the person that was able to love me for who I am.
Hi there, and welcome back to our channel. We have a fun one for you today. A lot of you guys have been asking about how we've decided to choose one another when we were dating and what made us kind of be with one another, and me to choose Alex to choose me. So we're going to open up our lives a little bit here on this channel to you guys, as you know us as probably love coaches from our previous channels as well, giving relationship, dating, and marriage advice to a lot of you. We have over probably combined 2 million subscribers combined on those channels, and we've been getting so much over the years of men and women asking us to kind of just open up and be an avenue that they can go to kind of emulate the relationships, not that we have, but that we speak of. And I believe that we have a pretty healthy relationship, and I think this topic is really important. Marriage, I should say. I say relationship a lot, but happy, healthy marriage. But I think this topic is really important to really get some insight about, because a lot of my private coaching clients, babe, always ask me like the stories, like, can you tell me like how you and your husband got together? Like, what made you choose him? Like, they're so invested in this.
Yeah.
Because I also think we have a very healthy relationship, and it's something that I talk about in a lot of videos. Like, I'll give like little tidbits of examples of when we first started dating, this happened and stuff like that. So I think this video would be great to just kind of talk about like maybe your perspective on like why you chose me to be your girlfriend and how you knew that it would be long term. And then I'll do the same for you.
I think you should start.
Really? You don't want to start?
No, I can start if you want. You know, we can start. But I want to tell you first that nobody asked me this question, but they're telling me your wife is very lucky to have a man like you.
Of course you're going to say this. Yeah, I get that a lot too.
No, you didn't say it. I said it first. You cannot say it now.
Okay, I just have the editor pop up all the comments on my YouTube channel right now saying, can we clone Apollonia to be my wife, please?
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Boom, 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 boom.
No,
my editor just probably put them up.
Too much of Apollonia. I think one is enough.
Okay.
So I think that you ask me this question a lot. Did you know when you first met me that?
Oh my God, I was obsessed with this question.
Yeah. Ask me the question again.
I always said, did you know? I always asked you, did you know that I was the one when you first started dating me? And you said no. And I was like, why? And I kept asking. I probably asked this 100 times hoping you would change your no.
No, I'm sorry. I won't change my mind because I need to keep it real for the people that would listen to us. But so, yeah, I think that I didn't tell myself like she's the one. Yeah, that's for sure. Because I was kind of like going on a date, being in the US for 3 months, not really speaking any languages, not knowing anyone. I went on a date. Of course, you were late. I should say
it was like your second date.
No, first date. It was like you were late like 20, 25 minutes, but that is still
it was the first date
okay.
I was late. I was always late.
Yeah, because the second date never happened. You know that, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so the first date, she just entered in the room and she was smiling. She was like, in a nice energy. And I told myself, oh, this is cool. I will spend a good moment. And when we met each other, we hugged each other immediately. So there was not like awkward moment, never had any awkward moment. So I take it with the flow. And 10 years later, now I'm married. We will have 2 kids very soon. And so it's kind of like I never decided that, oh, she's the one. There is a moment where I was just like, I found the one. I don't know how to explain the difference, but it's kind of, oh, she's the one, or more like, that's the relationship I want to be for the rest of my life. Of course, we have some arguments sometimes, we have some disagreement, but at the end of the day, the way you made me feel, like you accepted me because I was hardworking. At this time, I was working maybe 12 to 13 hours a day, Monday to Sunday. There was no day off. My only time off was after 6, 7 p.m. when I was able to go to dinner with you or spend time together. But the fact that you took me the way I was, I never questioned the relationship because I found the person that was able to love me for who I am. So that's what I remember from the day we started to meet until now.
Nice.
Is it a good answer?
It's okay. Mine's better. I'm just kidding.
Yours is better.
Yeah, I think also too, as a woman dating you, being busy doesn't mean that I sacrificed myself to kind of get in your time. What you did great for me, because you were that busy guy, and the reason why I let you show up to be you, obviously, and was okay with it, is because you planned ahead. Like, you were always like, I have to work, and you would always tell me, you would always communicate, I'm working, I'm writing my book. So I'm working long hours right now, but I would love to take you out to dinner on Saturday. Do you think 7 o'clock works? I would always have a plan. Like, I knew I would see you.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more closer that we got, when you were done with work, you ended up coming over like almost every night. So even though we didn't spend a lot of time together, you still came over. We slept in the same bed. We probably maybe had like 2 hours of conversation before bedtime. And you made it kind of like a ritual.
Mm-hmm.
And I was okay with that, because that's all I wanted, like I just wanted time. And I noticed that you gave me that, even though you were busy. So it showed me that you were investing. And that's, I think, the simplicity of what men miss, is that women just want to see investment. It doesn't have to look a certain way. It just has to mold into your life, and you communicate it with it. And if she's not okay with it, then she's not the person for you.
Mm-hmm.
Plain and simple. Especially if it's a healthy investment. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's not, I'm drinking with the buddies. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So for me, I think for me, I have to bring it back a little bit, because you came from a totally different childhood
Mm-hmm.
than I did. Like, if we can choose dark and light, you were light, I was dark. Basically, I went through a lot in my childhood. Thank God I had an amazing mother. Still to this day I do, and that's what saved me. But I had a really toxic relationship with my father. Like, I was a woman with daddy issues. I had my sisters taken away in and out of my life. It was very traumatic. Having them used against me, them wanting me to be in my life, and I had to basically tell them no, and think it was my father's, just basically make them think it was my idea instead of my father's idea, because he was manipulating them, until they got older and they realized, like, we're being manipulated here, right? So I went through a lot of like emotional abuse,
Mm-hmm.
I would say. So I've also told my guy clients, as a woman, like, if you came into my life a year before we actually met, I probably would have not been ready for you. Like, I just probably wouldn't. I would have been like trying to find qualities in you that just turned me off, basically, and because I wasn't ready,
Mm-hmm.
because it's interesting, because I would have this wall up and date unavailable men because I was unavailable. And I had this thing where I would tell my friends, like, I don't like men with accents. And they would be like, that is the strangest thing. Every woman likes a man with an accent. And look, I got the man with the biggest accent, And so I definitely would have not been ready for you. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And so before I met you, and I said this in my speech once, like, people, I'm very spiritual. I'm very, like, with our son, I pray every night with him. When we go to bed, we do bedtime prayer. Like, this is going to be a big routine for us, like, when we are together as a family. Like, I've been like this because my mom inherited this in me, and also that part of my life saved me from a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to work on myself in order to accept you in my life, in order to get you to be in my life,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think this is a big topic for men and women to understand. Like, just because we desire love doesn't mean that we're ready for love.
That's a good quote.
Yeah, because I always wanted love,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't know how to hold it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I had to learn how to hold it for myself. And that was the biggest thing. Like, I was neglecting myself. I was drinking too much. I was dating bullshit men. Like, I wasn't, excuse me, guys, love you, but there is bullshit men just like there's bullshit women, okay? Let me talk about me, not as a coach. And I had to let go of that and figure out my why, and I had to love myself. And I truly had to love myself. I had to forgive my father. I had to forgive myself. I had to change my habits. I had to change my awareness. I had to change my way of thinking. I had to change my lifestyle. I had to change, like, everything. My friendships, like, like, the friends I had when I started dating you were bullshit too, like this, and you accepted it, but that was one part of my life I was slowly getting out, so I just didn't have the best relationships in my life. And so as soon as I started taking care of myself through meditation, through work, through therapy, through investing in growth, through discipline, which is the biggest thing, was discipline, then I became ready for you. And I remember just being so happy in my life by being single. And I was never happy being single. Like I always had to date somebody, always had to go on a guy to take me out to a dinner or do something, you know, like to make me feel seen. I got to a point in my life where I didn't want any of it. I took like a year off almost of dating where I didn't even talk to men. And I just had a relationship myself, and it was a beautiful thing. I traveled and did all this stuff. And then I remember one night I was at home cooking for myself, having a glass of wine, listening to music, and I was the happiest I've ever been. And I was like, I don't have to be out to do this. And I like had such a great time. And I said this in my speech is I remember going to sleep that night, and I dreamt. And my grandfather had just passed away. Unfortunately, he was like my father. And my grandfather always basically told me, I will never probably be able to walk you down the aisle, but I'll bring you your love of your life. And it makes me emotional talking about it because it also is something that I'll always remember because I knew he did. And it was funny because on my dream, I remember so a whisper like saying, he's coming. Like the love of your life. It said the love of your life. And then it stopped. And then a whisper happened and said, he's coming. And then in my dream was a flash of a man on stage. He was tall. That's all I knew. And there was a big blue screen and a huge audience. That's all I saw. And I was like, wow. And I woke up the next day. I was like, this is crazy. And I just felt it. It was like manifestation. Mm-hmm. I just felt like you were coming. Right. Mm-hmm. And so that's why my experience is completely different than yours when you say, did you know I was the one in the beginning? Because right before we started dating, I had like 4 of my girlfriends flying from LA. That's the reason why I canceled the second date. And it was like my last single hurrah, I call it. And I remember me showing them photos of your website. And they're like, oh my God, he's so cute. They're like, you know how girls are. And they were like, what do you think's going to happen? And I just looked at them. I'm like, I'm not going to be single for long. This guy is going to be my boyfriend. Just like that. And they were like, really? How do you know? I'm like, I just know. Like, I just knew it, you know? And I'll always remember that we were in our patio. I think I made them sangria because they had just landed. We were just chit-chatting, catching up because we were high school friends. And I was just like, this is my last single, I even told them, this is my last single days, ladies. So live it up with me. Like I even told them that. And they were like, what? That's crazy. They didn't believe me, but I knew it because of what had transpired before. Of course, I didn't tell them that because everybody would think I'm probably crazy. So then I met you and I just had a feeling. Like I just had a good feeling. I really liked you. It was refreshing. But after our first date, I went home feeling like, whoa, this is what dating, like normal dating is supposed to feel like. Not that I've never had a normal date, but it was just like, it was a connection that was not high. It wasn't low. It was right in the middle. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then you continued the efforts and then you accepted me for me. Like I was crazy. I was always late. You know, I was still working on myself. I was always late. I canceled our second date like an hour before. And I said, the reason being is because I'm hungover. I drank too much last night, where you could have been like, okay, I'm working on a career.
But it was
here.
Your birthday as well.
Yeah, true.
Celebration.
Yeah. And you could have been like, I'm working on a career here. You're like, no, like this is when girls like a Miami girl, you know, but you didn't. And this is what I tell a lot of men when I'm coaching them is like, expectations will always kill appreciation. Imagine if my husband had the mindset of, oh my God, this girl canceled a second date on me. Like F her, I'm moving on. Who knows where we would be right now? Mm-hmm. You would have missed out on an amazing opportunity.
A baby boy that is crazy good.
Me. So anyways, besides that, you were different than any man that I had dated. You were thoughtful. You had boundaries with me. You had respectful boundaries with me. Because I was a woman, and I still am to this day, and you know it, that if you don't have boundaries with me, and I happily openly admit it because I know it's what I need, and I told my sister this before, is like, I will take advantage. Like I just will. It's just in me. It's like, how much can I push? It's like our son. How much can I push? You know? So like, I need that. And you're very big on boundaries. So that was the first thing. I remember when we first dated, I did something stupid and you were like, it's not okay. Get it together. And if you don't get it together, we're done. And it scared the living shit out of me. Mm-hmm. And I've never been so scared like that to lose someone. It was a different feeling. I was scared to lose you because I wanted the love and affection. I was scared to lose you because I knew it was a good thing. Mm-hmm. It was healthy. And that's what I was scared of. It's like, I can't lose something healthy for the first time in my life. Right. So that is another thing that made me know that you were the person for me. And then you were just persistent. You were open in communication. You shared your life with me when you were traveling. You would show me pictures of you and your nephew, you and your family. You would write to me. You showed me efforts. Like, there's times where I would date men, they would travel and they wouldn't reach out to me until they got back. And I was like, nope, no anymore. I'm not doing it anymore. You showed me that you wanted something more. And so you would tell me you missed me. And then I remember you went away on a speech and you text me the picture after your speech, and it was the same exact picture that I saw in my dream. And after that, I just knew this was the guy I was going to marry.
Yeah, that was my biggest speech in front of 3,000 people. I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
But I chose you because you had boundaries with me. I chose you because you were stable. I chose you because you pursued me. I chose you because you were consistent. I chose you because you were respectful. I chose you because you were honest, you know, and you weren't perfect because your communication was really not the best, but we also chose you because I could have fun with you through the communication. Like, you would make fun of yourself. You were confident about it. Like, so many men would take that and be like, I'm not confident with this. Oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. Like, you would say things and you would own it and we would laugh about it, you know? So you made comedy through you learning English.
Yeah. I think that was a big thing. And I remember the moment like where you said, oh, because in the US, we have to ask, that's something I learned, we have to ask the woman, would you like to be my girlfriend or something? We have to make it official.
Yeah.
When for me, when I first starting to date you, I was not thinking that you were the one. I was not even thinking about being in a relationship. Was mostly like, let's see how it goes. But in my mind, it was exclusive. It was like, let's see how it goes. Let me give my best to the relationship. Let me be irreproachable. So if she does something that I don't like, I can set boundaries because I know that I'm giving my best. And if my best is not enough, then we are not meant to be together.
Yeah.
But I remember like we were driving to avoid the first hurricane.
Together. And ended up not coming.
And I think I was talking to my brother or to a friend, and I said, yeah, I'm with my girlfriend. And you were like, am I your girlfriend? I said,
I was like, what?
We have been dating like for almost a year at that time.
No, it was like 4 or 5 months, babe.
No.
It was not a year.
No,
There's no way I would have let you not claim me as your girlfriend for a year. There's no way.
It was almost a year
No,
with the
babe.
travel and everything.
I will argue with this.
So, oh my
till the
God, she
day
doesn't
that I
remember
die.
any dates,
No.
guys. That's the thing, you know? That's the thing. So,
No, it wasn't a year.
so we were driving and I said like, I'm with my girlfriend, and you were like, oh, am I your girlfriend? And you know, because for me, since the day one, I was like, I'm building something. Maybe we will be together, maybe not, we'll see, but at least I'm building and I want to do it good because I've coached so many women. It's what you mentioned, they date men that are busy or not, and men are not consistent. And that's the one thing that you need to look in any relationship, being with someone that is consistent, that wants to make it work, but that person won't be perfect, and that's okay. That is very important.
But you have all the other elements.
Yeah, you have the elements that makes you feel secure. That doesn't mean that routine and in a relationship where we stay at home, but at least you feel secure. You know where you're going. You know someone will love you for who you are, so you don't have to change. And yes, sometimes you have to set boundaries. Sometimes you have to explain when you don't like something, and that's okay. You know, that's part of the process to learn and adjust, because it's not two pieces that can come together immediately. You have to work on the two pieces to make it work.
Yeah, because your input made me feel, because there's so many men out there that are very busy trying to make a home so they have financial freedom, which is a beautiful thing. But I think the thing that they're missing is two things: choosing the right woman that will appreciate that and know how to work with you on it, and also taking the time to communicate it so it shows that you are working on the relationship too. Because where women fall is they don't see that you are working on the relationship just as much as you're working on your project and your purpose. So for example, when we went to Naples, to take from the beginning of our relationship, when you said I was your girlfriend, that's the 4 or 5 month mark, it was like, you still work. So for example, that night you would say, I have to coach. I'm going to be waking up at 8 a.m. to coach till 1 p.m. I have a break from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Then I'm going to coach again 5 to 6, and then we can do dinner at 7. right? And so I'd be like, okay, so I knew how to plan my day. I'm like, I'm going to go work on my business downstairs, maybe have a little cocktail, like do my thing. And I actually enjoyed it because it gave me something to look forward to. And so you were always like that. But also, I was open to that. I
Mm-hmm.
appreciated that because I knew if this was going to be my person forever, I wanted him to be successful, you know?
Yeah.
And that's how I thought of it. And so your success also came because of me being your backbone.
Mm-hmm.
Like I always tell you this too.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were successful when you met me, but not the success that you have now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very proud of that because I motivated you. And I'll always remember the time when we moved into our first apartment together. You told me this is a time where we need to have a serious discussion. Either I slow down or I speed up and I build a legacy. And I basically asked you, what would our life look like if you slowed down? And you told me. It was like, that doesn't sound right nice. And then I said, what would our life look like if you sped up? And you told me. And I said, then where does our relationship fit in? And you told me the difference between the two. And I was like, maybe the first one's too much time for me because then I want to do a business. And also, I know he's going to be happier in the second one. Like, I thought about your happiness and before mine. And I think that's true love sometimes. It's not that you're putting the other person first, it's I'm thinking about what's going to make you happy because I'm your backbone.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So for me for you to be successful, I always have to think for you too sometimes. And sometimes I have to put my feelings aside and say, even though the first one would be great and I can spend so much time with him, like the second one has advantages too. And I just remember I was like, no, you're going to go. You're going to speed up and we're going to take this and you're going to work hard and you're going to build a legacy. And I just
Mm-hmm.
remember being like, I want that life. And you're like, are you sure? And I was like, yep. We never talked about it again. And you did just that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the first time when I say all the time, you're the man that always, when you say you're going to do something, you do something. Because after that, I was like, that man just does whatever he, like says he's going to do, like that's the thing. And that's where the trust also built in our marriage for me to let go and just be your wife.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a beautiful thing just to be your wife. Like, I don't need to, I would love to be this is also another thing. Talking so much.
Yeah.
I remember telling you now, and this is where our values go. I want to build a business that's on autopilot so you don't have to work so much. Like that was my thing. Like I want my husband now to retire early and relax, where now his wife gets to step in and make the money and like have something on autopilot. Like this is my new goal. Am I going to get there? I don't know, but it's my new goal, So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's also
Yeah.
another reason why I chose you.
Yeah, I think that we chose each other. At least it was natural, and I feel like it was just meant to be together, and we understood each other a lot. It requires a lot of empathy, and at the beginning, it was like 10 years before, so we were like having a lot of energy building our business, building our life, which help us now spend some time with the baby boy, travel, have the house that we were dreaming about. And that's also sacrifices that we did together.
Yeah, that's right.
And what I love in
Let's
what
forget
you're
about
saying right now is that our relationship was based on a partnership, sacrifices, understanding each other, and doing the right things so we can also build a better life in the future. So if you meet someone that is taking you down, someone that doesn't understand you, someone that doesn't help you build and achieve your dreams, it can be on you. Maybe it's about communication, but maybe it's also not the right partner. And I felt that. I was like, every relationship, people were trying to take me down. Oh, you work too much, but why do you do this? But you don't need that. And so instead of like really understanding who I am, and you took the time. So that was maybe because you were like having through your life, everything that you mentioned. It's kind of very interesting to know that some people can be available and some people cannot be available. Like sometimes we are not emotionally there. Even myself, I met women before I knew that it was just not the one. I was like, that's it. I'm here, but I'm not giving the commitment that I gave you. I'm not giving the clarity that I gave you
Yeah.
because I knew it was just not the one.
Yeah.
So
So you knew I was the one then.
no, I didn't know that. I just feel like it was natural and it became the one. But
So you
what
knew I was the one.
so I knew this time, and that surprised me, but because I don't know how to explain why, but I know that this time I did everything with commitment. Like not
Yes.
just commitment, meaning like before I was not unfaithful, but commitment means like I really dedicate time. I was irreproachable.
So your emotional mind knew I was the one before your logical mind did.
No, I'm sorry, my love. I won't say yes. I just knew that I need to do the things right.
I know, I'm messing with you, babe.
And now we are like 10 years in the right things.
Yeah.
And so it's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, thanks, babe. Love you.
Sure.
And I hope you guys loved our story that we
Yep.
shared with you, the reasons why, and my rant, because I can go on with the topic forever
And
and how I
maybe
met my
you're
husband.
learning how to make sure that you make the right choice, or
Yeah.
you're learning why your partner is the right one for you. And I hope that those podcasts are really helping you. But remember that we have some resources in the description right there.
All right. Wonderful. See you guys in our next video.
Bye, guys. Take good care.
Bye.